People in Southern California are breathing the worst air in the country, but there are new ambitious plans to clean up the smog in the sprawling four-county Los Angeles area. Last night, two regional authorities approved a program to phase in 123 strict new anti-pollution steps over the next 5 years, with more to come later. Everything from backyard barbecues to power plants would be affected. Among the changes, lower emission for diesel vehicles, no more gasoline-powered lawnmowers, reduce emissions from paints and solvents, ban barbecue fuels that need starter fluid. Also, an increase in parking fees for cars that don't carry passengers, raise registration fees for drivers with more than one car, restrict the number of family cars, and eventually have all cars powered by methanol, compressed gas, or electricity. All cars' tires must be radials, which put less rubber in the air.
You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up? You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it? Let's see,
Now look, here's a house full of bees. You think the honey badger cares? It doesn't give a shit.
Listen, let's get one thing straight.
Price is right.
Guns don't kill people. I do.
Stand up and proudly say, God bless you, God bless the Bill of Rights, and thank God for the Amendment. I'm not ashamed to say I'm proud of it, and I'm not proud to admit I'm scared, and I'm committed, and I will never
run out of Tom Wood Show episodes. You know, that's not impossible. So check out Liberty Tree Podcast.
¿Cuánto tiempo va a pasar que pueda mejorar? Todos somos víctimas de un estado confiscado con un gobierno involucrado en las ganancias de él.
That was a smooth jam. I wasn't expecting the vocals to go there. But I like it.
It's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, what was that?
The name of the song is Mexico, or Mexico, I guess, as you would say if you were in Mexico. The group is called the Mexican Institute of Sound.
Oh, that's a great band name.
I know.
I like that.
And what's cool is they kind of are like an institute. They're really pushing forward like electronic music, which is starting to get kind of... It's always been big in Mexico. I can speak from like being down there. Like electronica was definitely a thing, but this is like not just electronica, right? This is like a cool kind of native Mexican kind of approach to electronica, which I find really interesting. And I want to say that I think it's bullshit that YouTube, which we are now on, welcome
for now,
exactly. Keeps giving us copyright strikes for the music that we play.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, and then you can appeal those strikes. And one of the reasons that you should be allowed to play other people's music is if you do it in a document.
If you talk about it afterwards.
Style, which is the only reason we play the music, and that's what we're doing. We're actually promoting these bands for the most part. We've never played a single song where it was like a joke, where I played it just go, isn't that a horrible song?
No.
Even the one time that I played the Baby Shark Trap remix, I really like that song.
I respect.
I love it, actually. So, by some miracle, we actually posted a video of the podcast.
Oh, have we?
Last week.
My wife has asked me, she goes, when the video go up? I was like, I don't think we've done it yet.
I mean, didn't just like immediately jump into her algorithm?
No.
Weird. Well, we have video.
Sweet.
And yeah,
how many?
You should check it out because the best part of the video, you would guess probably is looking at Matt and my adorable faces. No, that's not it. The best part is seeing the shit that Jake has been doing this entire time behind the scenes is now visible for the world to see. So please go to YouTube, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Jake, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm sitting on the floor in a closet. Got some movers putting all my stuff together.
Jake, I got to tell you, I went to Houston yesterday. First time I've ever flown somewhere and then flown back in the same day. But
yeah, I didn't until you left. I was doing that math. I was like, he's gonna be back on it. I was like, is he doing this all in one day? I was like, holy crap!
I did a lot of sitting.
Yeah,
yesterday, which I don't recommend. 3 hours there, 4 hours back. Fucking rental car, sitting in the office that I went to. The weather in Houston is fantastic.
Yeah,
it was 78 degrees.
Houston's
yesterday.
A cool place.
They did tell me it was like 40. 2 days before that, but I ignored that completely. It was 78 degrees. It was amazing. So, Jake, can you relocate to Houston? I think you should consider it.
That is where the majority of the people I work with are going to be at, I think. But it kind of bites onto the reason I moved in the first place, which was to train at a very specific gym.
Right.
Which is here about 5 minutes from where I'm sitting.
Remember that scene in Billy Madison where Billy goes back to school and then Norm Macdonald is passed out drunk at the pool and he wakes up and he goes like, oh, Billy, I just thought of the funniest thing. And he's like, where's Billy?
Where's Billy?
That was me yesterday because, Jake, you moved a week ago and then you left for Texas, unrelated. And I got off work. I was like, both my friends are gone.
If I moved to Texas, you would have to move there.
Yeah.
It would just be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, we'd both get there, and then Jake would move back here.
Yeah.
He's avoiding us.
Dude, I had the oddest. So I bought a truck.
Yes.
And I bought it out of the area. And then part of the caveat of the truck is I wanted it financed through my credit union. And so I'm like, hey, are we clear? This is financed through my credit union. He goes, oh, yeah. But he kind of was dismissive every time I brought it up. Yeah. And so I would actually probably get this in writing. So I texted him and I did an email. Like, once again, just want to reiterate, like, this is going through my credit union. Because they were asking me, like, credit questions. I was like, I don't know why you guys need to do this if it's all going through my bank, right? A little bit of a red flag.
Yep.
And so he goes, all right, we're going to deliver the truck on this day. I was like, hey, just once again, it's going through my credit union. And part of the reason I want to do that is I just try to avoid new technology. And I have my banking app, which I have to have. And I know some people like to have a couple drinks and, look at trans porn or whatever their kind of thing is. I was like, mine is I'll get a couple drinks in me. I was like, let's just pay off your entire truck tonight. Like, you're going to be kind of bummed on Monday, but I wake up and I'm like, oh, dude. So it's kind of good in the long run. That's my wild drunken thing is.
Wait, you paid off your entire truck?
No. But what I'll do is I'll just put a bunch of money on a bill, like pay all your bills for the next 2 months. And so you don't have to worry about it. I was like, the next week will be a little lean. I was like, but in the long run, it's going to be awesome.
No, you know what you're doing to yourself? You're doing what the contractor state license board does to contractors. They make your license renewable every 2 years.
Yeah.
So that you forget.
Right.
And then you have to pay some fucking exorbitant fee to get it reinstated.
Yes.
It's a bad move. Dude.
And I also didn't want to have like I don't even have a checkbook, so I don't want to get some random bill and I got to remember to write a check. Same thing. It's like I will not remember. I don't want to have a card on file because the card's going to expire. And so a week or two goes by and I'm talking to my wife and I go, am I supposed to be I need to make like a payment on this truck. Like, is it going to show up on my app? Or she goes, yeah, like you owe someone a lot of money. Trust me, they're going to get a hold of you. I'm like, all right. Another week goes by. Now yesterday, I'm like, I just feel like what I don't want to happen is someone shows up in the middle of the night and takes my truck while I'm waiting to make a payment, because like some paperwork I didn't see or something like that.
Exactly.
So I was like, I'm going to call my bank. So I call my bank. I'm like, hey, I financed an auto loan through you guys, and I just need to like integrate it on my app. Like, who do I talk to? They're like, okay. They're like, when did you buy it? I was like, I don't know, like around this time. They're like, what kind of truck was it? I told them. They're like, no, we don't see anything. We see a Toyota Tacoma, but that's been paid off for years. And I was like, so you have no record of me financing an automobile through you guys? And they're like, no. I'm like, shit. So I get off the phone to them. I was like, dude, they might have fucked me. I mean, not the end of the world, but it's just like, I was so clear about this.
Yeah. How did you possibly let this happen?
Yes.
God, dude.
No, so check this out. I was like, now I got to call the dealership. I'm going to say like, hey, I was very clear about what the terms of the deal were. And like, you guys got to figure this out, right? Get a hold of my bank, whatever. I call the dealership because when they delivered it, I had a cashier's check for a down payment, right? So when they pick it up and I sign all those papers, I'm like, so here's what happened. And my bank has no record of me having any auto loan. They're like, okay, like I got to talk to the sales manager. I'm going to call you back. Let me see if I can work my way through this. Well, thank you. They call me back. They're like, explain to me what happened when they delivered the truck. I'm like, they delivered a truck. Like, did you sign the papers? I was like, I signed like 60 papers. I was like, the only one that I really read was the final price. Like, so they didn't slide something in there. I was like, but I'm not going to, it was literally a stack. You know, you've bought a truck before.
Yeah.
And she goes, wow. Okay, I got to talk to my sales manager again. Can I call you back?
Dude, did you almost get the truck for the down payment?
Oh
my God.
She calls me back.
You fucked it up by calling them.
Well, listen.
God damn it.
She calls me back and goes like, okay, I see the problem is. She goes, I think I know what happened. I got to do some paperwork. We'll call you tomorrow, you know. But she goes, I see what happened. I was like, okay, thank you. You'll call me tomorrow. We'll get this settled out. And I'm like, it's going through my credit union. She goes, yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk to your bank and get everything squared away. And I was like, hey, before you get off the phone, like, what do you think happened? She goes, well, they entered it into our system that you paid cash for the truck. She goes, but I went ahead and fixed that and put in the name of your credit union.
Oh, my God, dude.
I got the phone. I was like, oh, my God.
You almost got away with stealing that truck.
Yes. But
if you hadn't called them.
Yes. But
no, if you hadn't called them.
If I hadn't called them.
This time next year, they would have said, hey, we did an audit of our
exactly.
books. You owe us back payments for the last 12 months.
Because I told my wife, I'm like, oh, I fucked up. Like, here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. And my wife immediately, because I was like, had that couple minutes of like, oh, dude. She goes, there's number one, they would have found an audit. I'm like, it's a huge company. And they're like, yeah, but stuff like that goes missing. They look into it. I'm like, yeah, maybe enough. And she goes, I had to think about this, but she was right. She goes, you would have been worrying about this every night, like maybe the next 5-6 years, you know, the whole time you're driving that truck. I'm like, are they going to come take it in the middle of the night? Because
very good point.
Yeah. And I also thought she left the house. I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm glad that this got squared away, because even if I were to get away with it free and clear,
yeah,
right? I was like, the truck, like just like your house, right? You work your ass off, you pay for the house. I was like, what's the pain in the ass factor of paying, you know, what, $1,100 a month compared to like every morning waking up and walking out, seeing that truck and going like, yeah. or if you knew you were going to get away with it after a certain amount of time, you're like, you didn't buy this. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the pride of ownership is gone.
You're a thief.
Yeah. It was weird. It's like that whole some clerical error set me on like a spiritual journey in my head. Yeah, it was crazy. But that first couple of minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I almost pulled off like something insane. I didn't do anything. It was their mistake.
Yeah.
But still, like the universe wouldn't have been right. And that would have been like weighing on my soul for years. I'm like, I would rather pay so much a month and not have that sitting in my chest like every morning that I woke up.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Jake, do you mind pulling up the, he's got Repo Man up. Do you mind pulling up the LibertyTreeLifestyle.com store? Just not to shamelessly self-promote. Well, yeah, actually to shamelessly self-promote. I want to give a thanks to a few people who recently bought some swag from us. I'm not going to use their last names because, I don't know, it feels like our podcast is like people listen to it in secret, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
They only tell like people that they know they can trust.
Or other people that they know they'll hate us too.
Oh, yes, that's true. Big thanks to Edward, Xander, Ricardo, Sean Barron, and my cousin Gretchen.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Shout out Gretchen.
And if anyone else out there wants to get some sweet merch, go to LibertyTreeLifestyle.com. We got a lot of cool new shirts and mugs and a sweet doormat. I got to give you a couple of stories from the airport.
Okay.
Always fun.
I knew you'd have some.
So, TSA this time around. Fucking beautiful.
Really?
Yes. Every person I ran into in TSA was a absolute sweetheart. And I always, the test, the barometer, the first time you walk through the lines and you get up to the TSA agent who checks your ID, you got to stand in front of that camera.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't want to have my picture taken. And the guy goes, okay, no problem. So just step right over here. And I was like, oh,
wow.
Okay, thank you. And even though I was wearing my identity proof glasses, I still, wanted to opt out of the camera. And then straight through, no problem. By the way, the TSA has figured something out. I brought this up last time I flew.
How to catch shoe bombers?
Yes. The way that they figured out who is a terrorist and who's not is that terrorists only buy one-way tickets. So if you find yourself buying one-way tickets, be prepared to have your bag searched, because what they know terrorists do is they're cheap.
Yeah.
Right? They're they're from the Middle East, and I guess, people there are known for being, they haggle, right? Or they're just cheap in certain countries in the Middle East. And so they know that these terrorists are going to put a bomb in their backpack, most likely.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to pay for the round-trip ticket, they just get a one-way ticket, and then they go on the plane, they blow it up. That's how it works.
It's best to be frugal, even to your last day of being a martyr.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just in case it doesn't work out, then you save that money for next time around. Dude. So the first morning, the first part of my trip in the morning, I was at the airport at 4:00, and coffee shop doesn't open until 4:30. So I'm standing kind of in that area, and this couple walk past me, and the way that I'm standing, I'm kind of like in the way, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of room, but I'm not up against the wall. And I don't really notice them, but the guy walks in front of me, so I kind of notice him, and the girl walks behind me. They kind of split me. And I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have noticed anything, but I hear the guy say, are you sure you want baked goods at this hour? And I was like, just funny thing to say. Like, no one says baked goods. Like, if you say that to your wife, like, hey, I'm gonna get a muffin. Are you gonna get a baked good? Like, was this? I was like, huh? And I'm still kind of sleepy and everything. I'm just, did I hear that right? And I look, and the girl, who I didn't notice until this moment, I knew someone walked behind me. Yeah. I look, her legs are so skinny, I could easily wrap my hand around her upper leg.
Oh, wow.
It was like two spaghetti noodles coming out of a pair of shorts walking. I was like, whoa, that is the skinniest chick I've ever seen. And then it like clicked. And I'm like, and the guy was in good shape. And he was like, are you sure you want baked goods at this time of the day? Like, shouldn't you be watching what you eat?
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And I just felt so sad. I was like, I just could tell, like, this is some like abusive food-based relationship, this skinny image thing. So weird. Also saw some people leave their bags on a chair. So 2 bags.
Big no-no.
Left on a chair. You know you're not supposed to do that, right? There's announcements all the time telling you, if you leave your bags on a chair, do not leave your bags unattended. If you see a bag that's unattended, you see something, say something, So I only noticed it because a bunch of cops like showed up and are
really
looking at the bags and like trying to figure out what to do. And I'm sitting there just kind of off in the corner, like watching this. And the thought keeps going through my head, like, what if those are bombs?
Man, we got some big goods down here. I think
right? Like, should I be sitting here? Like, if those are bombs, like, wouldn't it suck if I made this 1-day trip, like, to Texas and back, and I die?
And then he blew up.
Yeah, like, but then I kept going, like, those aren't bombs. Like, there's no way, right? So, you know what the consequence is for leaving those bags on the chair?
No.
It's a reprimand.
Mm.
Yes. So they tell you all day long while you're in the airport, do not leave your bags unattended. But if you do, nothing fucking happens. So come to find out, you can leave your bags there, wander off. The two people came back and they're like, oh, well, we were just going to get something to eat. We figured we'd be right back.
Yeah.
And the cop is like, well, you can't do that. Like,
so they got the same punishment as the people that tanked the entire housing industry and caused a global economic collapse.
There's no consequence.
I used to have to fly all the time, and I remember I had these layovers. I had to fly twice a week. It was just a nightmare. And it was one of those like crazy airports, like just packed full. And there was no room to sit anywhere. I'm in this chair, and I had to pee real quick. And I asked the lady, I was just like, hey, would you mind watching my bag real quick? I'm just going to run to the bathroom. She just goes like, no. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, all right. Go to the bathroom. Someone's in my seat. And she gave someone my seat, too. I was just like, you got so pissed.
That is rude.
It was. It was. So I got a question. I had something else I wanted to kind of tackle, but this other thing kind of piqued my interest. And I have a question that I can't get through in my head. And I've actually already threw this to a couple people. So maybe we can come up with it in live time here.
All right.
Okay. Are you familiar with dynamic pricing?
Yes.
Okay. So the basics of it is raising and lowering prices based on demand. Something that's, if you think about it, has been a long, probably they did that in the slave trade.
Right.
Back in the day.
It was less dynamic.
Yes. Yes. So.
Yes. As something becomes more in demand,
It's simple economics.
Goes up.
Yeah. And so I happened upon this article that was talking about dynamic pricing. I'd never heard that term before, but as soon as I read it, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what they're saying. Now that everything's becoming less analog and more digital based, it's dynamic pricing is becoming more dynamic, as you just kind of put it. Mm-hmm. And I was reading this article. This was like 3 years ago or something like that. And they're talking about this focused on fast food restaurants. Okay. They're saying like, okay, so what's going on is you have like a Chick-fil-A and the sandwich will be $3.50, and then the lunch rush it's $7 or whatever. Maybe this restaurant is right across the street from the local university. They got a horde of kids in there. And the article was writing it at that time. And I didn't really pay much mind to it, but it was written at the time.
Let me guess that this was really exploitative.
Yes.
and awful.
Yeah, they're like, it's just an outrage. The sandwich is supposed to be $3.50, now it's $7, and
it's supposed to be $3.50.
Yes,
God came down on high and told everyone sandwiches are $3.50.
And I remember my reaction at the time. I'm like, it just seems like basic economics. Like if they raise the sandwich to $7 and they have a line out the door, then the price is supposed to be $7, not $3.50. Like if no one shows up, then it's not worth $7. It's worth maybe $5.
I'm guessing there's a man with a gun outside the store forcing people to go in and buy these sandwiches.
Yeah. And so the article, you can kind of see the perspective that it was written from. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, now all the restaurants in this area are doing it, so they can't just go eat somewhere else. And I'm like, yeah, but again, you know what I mean? If it's pretty easily determined what something's worth. Now, your Uncle Jim, to paraphrase him, said things are worth what someone's going to pay for it. And this has a multitude of variables that go into it, but this is the basic supply and demand. And all the way down to, you could be like the old guy that's telling you, like, in that barn over there, I got a 69 T-bird, it's worth $90,000. You're like, if you can find someone to give you that much money for it,
right?
Like maybe it's worth $90,000 last year, and now we're in a recession. Maybe it's worth $70,000. Like basic supply and demand.
Everything in the world is only worth what people are willing to pay for.
Yes. So I came upon another article that's going into dynamic pricing, and this is like where the question kind of jumped into my mind. So they were talking about like Uber. So Uber uses this model. If you're in Mission Bay, San Francisco, and you want to go out to dinner, and then you go to call an Uber and it's $30, then your plans change. Let's say you want to take an Uber, same place. Now it's $60.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, at the same time, the Warriors game just got out. Everyone wants an Uber. They only have so many drivers. Now instead of 300 people looking for an Uber, you have 2,200. The prices go up, right?
Yep.
This is done increasingly now with like algorithms and stuff like that. right? The algorithms are determining, okay, so we're going to go down in like layers because at some point there was a threshold that kind of inserted itself into the subject where it totally got me thinking. And I want to throw this your way to see what you think of it. So now they're talking about like, well, yeah, Uber, they fluctuate their prices based on, they know the Warriors game got out or probably based on like they're getting flooded with calls, the prices just automatically go up, right? It's all done with an algorithm.
I mean, I hope the economics of this makes perfect sense to just about everyone.
Yes.
But I know it doesn't.
Well, because we're going to get into free markets versus centralized control.
Right.
And then I want to get into what Catherine Austin fits in the digital prison. Right. So
can I just interject something?
Yeah, please do.
I always think about this in terms of price gouging.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're.
That's what people would call this. That's price gouging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and from their perspective, it's like, well, there's a greedy corporation. Maybe it's your local grocery store, but they're a greedy corporation who are simply trying to get as much money as they possibly can out of their customers. They're gouging them for money, right?
And when people say that, you're like,
That is one way to phrase it, but it's not just that. Mm-hmm. They are not simply trying to get more money. Uber is not trying to get more money out of their customers only. That's not the only thing.
No, if they only did that, they go out of business.
Correct.
Right.
What they're doing is making something less desirable so that there's enough of it to go around. Mm-hmm. When there's a natural disaster and the grocery store jacks up the price,
I'm glad you brought this up,
on toilet paper, what that says to consumers is that, do you really need the toilet paper? Mm-hmm. If you do, it's $30 per roll.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's a lot to spend, but if you really need it and you're willing to spend it, then you're gonna buy it and you're gonna use it very, very sparingly.
Right.
And you're not going to have people who are first in the door going, "Oh shit, everyone's gonna need toilet paper. Let's just clear the whole store out of the toilet paper." And even if that person did that,
remember the great toilet paper run during COVID?
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. So, what else did they do during that great toilet paper run? They made it illegal for people in New Jersey to fill up a truck with toilet paper, drive it to California, and sell toilet paper here. That was also considered price gouging. Even though what these guys were doing was actually alleviating the problem of there not being enough toilet paper. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but the toilet paper manufacturers in a situation like that are going to go, "Oh shit, we got to start producing more toilet paper."
Right.
If you put price caps on it, or you're essentially doing price controls on top of this toilet paper, then all you're doing is rewarding the first people that come in the door and hoard all of it, and you're creating a shortage because now those toilet paper manufacturers have no incentive to actually produce more toilet paper because they can only sell it for the normal price.
Right.
That's why controlled economies do not work.
Right.
It's always a disaster. Any sort of price control is a disaster. We've talked about it with rent control. We've talked about it in
We're going to talk about
government-run grocery stores. It's always a problem. Price gouging is actually a good thing. It actually is a signal to the market to actually control the products that people need through the market, not through central control.
Right. So as I'm going down this list and I'm reading this article at the same time, something seemingly unrelated kind of popped up, and I was driving my son to school, and he was talking about some game he was playing. He goes, "Well, it's free." And I goes, "Well, nothing's for free. It's just say Minecraft." I was like, "That's a multi-billion-dollar company that you get for free." I'm like, "It's not free. There's some kind of they're getting something out of it. There's a reason why they're so wildly like such a lucrative enterprise, right? For this free stuff." And then, of course, I'm not going to start dropping Catherine Austin Fitts on my son. He's only 12.
Right.
I always explain to him, I'm like, nothing is free. Like, there's nothing, all these apps, all this stuff. I was like, what they want is your information, like, is, among other things. But it's, then we talked about within the last, decade, we began hearing that for the first time in history, oil is no longer the most lucrative commodity in the world. It's now information. Mm-hmm. Now, as a society, because that's a bit of an abstract concept, we kind of did a collective shrug, as would be with most things that are going to end in our total demise as human beings. I was like, well, they take your information because they want your information because they can sell that to corporations to figure out like your spending behavior and what your income is. And you know what I mean? So they can pimp products to you like specifically tailored. You know, God forbid you walk by your son's Alexa speaker in the kitchen and announce to your wife that you guys need a new lawnmower. And then you get on social media and you're like, oh, Jesus. Like, what the?
How's this? We were sitting on the couch the other day, and I was talking to my son about our family tartan, our Scottish clans tartan.
Yeah.
And I was looking it up to show him what it looked like. Within minutes,
yes,
on Instagram, that fucking tartan shows up on my wife's fucking Instagram.
Braveheart just appeared on your TV. Like,
it's like, it was so specific. It's like, here's the family tartan. It was like, God, even though we know this is happening, it's still just like shocking and violating when you see that. Hey, something you said though is kind of interesting, that oil is no longer the most valuable commodity. It's data. It's interesting how connected oil is to data, though, when you consider that all that data requires a ton of energy to be managed, and that energy comes from oil.
Right.
Well, and solar panels.
which
and
the humble wind farm.
Which also requires oil in order to be manufactured.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife and I were having that discussion. I was just like, we all have to rely on this technology. You know, people like Catherine Austin Fitz, kind of seems like we're skipping around here a little bit. She goes, you know, every app that you put on your phone, every QR code, every time you buy something on eBay or Amazon, every Google search is all you're doing is fabricating the bricks of your own digital prison, right?
Yeah.
Which is totally true. And we all, I mean, we can...
But we like those bricks.
Yeah, it all comes with this prison. Convenience. Like, you and I are pretty aware of this. We talk about it all the time, but still, I mean, just all the bells and whistles in my truck. It's just like all this digital shit. Like,
you think about the most aware person that we know on an issue like this, they still have a cell phone.
Yeah.
A computer, not a flip phone either.
Or he's sitting in prison for sending bombs to the local post office. So jump back into dynamic pricing. So I'm kind of like doing, because like the most rudimentary stuff they explain about like Chick-fil-A raising the price of the sandwich, I'm like, well, that's just supply and demand 101. Like any company would do that. And now that we no longer rely on like the analog, you know, menu up there that's all digital, it's like now they could not only change it weekly, daily, but by the hour, you know, based on what they project to be the amount of customers that's going to come in. And there's a balance in that. You know, they're going to raise and lower prices just based on how much traffic they're getting through there. This is a pretty easy concept. So now I'm looking more into the Uber stuff. So you brought up like during an emergency, you get like the price gouging. You go like, okay, like not a good look just on its surface, but if you have a somewhat comprehensive understanding of economics, I'm like, kind of makes sense. You know, hear about lumber yards jacking up the price of plywood, you know, when a hurricane's going to hit Florida. Like, oof, like bad look, but I mean, they're weeding out who really, really needs that plywood, right? Like you were saying before.
Yeah.
Now, Uber does the same thing where there's these consumer watchdog advocates are coming after Uber because like when a storm shuts down the subway system in New York, the prices just like go through the roof. I'm like, well, if you have 10 times as many people calling for Uber, they have an algorithm that determines like this amount of people are going to pay this price. I'm like, that's just how the world works. So here's where the threshold for me, where I really started kind of forming the question that I can't figure out, because we're talking about like the free market, right?
Yep.
And so the most basic kind of argument you have is the free market versus centralized control, which you were explaining before.
Right.
And this is why I don't have any tolerance for having an economic discussion with someone who kind of institutes, you know, they want to implement like emotional based
emotions. Yeah, that's mean.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, at the end of the day, so if we have a track record, we have centralized control and we have a free market, and then you'll get greedy corporations and these CEOs and the price gouging and all that. I'm like, yeah, that's why we call it a crony capitalist model. It's extremely flawed and very, very corrupt. But on one hand, if we have the crony capitalist market, right, which is what we have, tons of corruption, price gouging and all that. And then B, we have centralized control. So if I have on A, you're going to give me a 50-year mortgage and first-time home buyer being 49 years old, and me and you taking a 10% pay cut every year through inflation, sucks. And then B is 200 million people starving to death or being tortured in a gulag. Like, it's a shit sandwich, but A is giving me like a bottle of vapor rub that I can put in my leg before I eat it. And go like, by the way, will you be voting Democrat or Republican in the next round?
Right, exactly. It's you're right. It
all sucks.
It's still better than total central control.
Yes. So now I'm going down this list, and this is like where the free market centralized control thing kind of popped in my head.
It's funny though. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's funny when the people that are advocates for the central control, in their minds, and it's kind of like the if we have time to get to it later, I'll talk about it, but it has to do with that Connie Chung clip. But the people that in their minds think that there's a good reason that centralized control will work now, they think, well, we have the technology to actually know exactly how to control the prices, and
just stacking those bricks,
and they can turn the knobs and pull the levers. Central controllers have always thought that they had the knowledge to be able to do that, even before computers.
Yeah.
They thought, we are the experts. We know what's best. We are the elite who have gone to the elite schools. We understand how prices should be controlled for the average person. Not for us, but for all you little people. We can do that. And now that we have the supercomputers and AI, we can really, really dial it in perfectly so that there isn't shortages and people don't suffer.
Yeah.
And it's like you're voting for this utopia that people that support this, that doesn't exist. It's never existed, and it never will exist because the free market is the only mechanism that's ever worked in this situation. Central control is always failed, and it will continue to.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of when you hear that, that your biggest flaw for this system is the corruption and the price gouging and all that. I'm like, I hate to break it to you, that's never going anywhere. Like, no matter what the system. So if I'm going to choose a system, I want that system to have the least amount of dominion over its citizens as possible. Right? If the corruption is not going away, it's like the gun argument. I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right. If there were no guns in the world, it might be a better place. However, that not being a possibility, I got to go the other way with things.
Well, there's no guns in Australia.
Yes. Insert dark joke here. Okay, so now to go back to dynamic pricing is, so Uber, the Warriors game gets out, they inflate their prices. The subway shuts down, they inflate their prices, right? Because they're trying to make as much money as they can. They're a business, and it's based on the supply and the demand. They know they can make that. Then I get into this article, and it's saying Uber also will see that if the battery on your phone is dying and raise the price. I went like,
ooh.
And for those of you asking, like, Uber knows how much battery life in your phone? Yes.
Yes, they do.
Another brick that you put there yourself. And so that's when the threshold, and this is where
and hold on, the logic there is that
you're desperate because your phone's going to die.
Your phone's going to die. You have to get that ride home right now.
This is kind of my last phone call I might be making.
Dude, you got to have your phone charged. It kind of reminds me of what you were saying about the truck payment in the beginning. Like, there's what popped into my head is, and I was trying to teach this to Junior the best I could the other day, that the routine that I make you do every morning is, I'm just trying to save you grief later in your life.
Right.
Routine is so important for especially dudes, entrepreneurs in their 40s with little kids. If you don't have routine going on, you might as well just not get out of bed in the morning. You need that just to keep the wheels on the thing that you're trying to push through life. Like, you have to have this routine. So when you leave the house, make sure your fucking phone is charged. Right. Okay, put that in, make that part of your routine. Save you money.
Down to the most basic level. Like, if something happens and I'm not working on a Tuesday, I'm just like, I'm just wandering around my house. Like, I don't even know, like, should I do push-ups? Like, should I go on a crazy bender right now? Like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. My routine has been broken.
Right.
Okay, so Uber can figure out, this is where that kind of threshold was. I'm like, that's interesting, creepy, not surprised. And then the article goes into that real estate, the DOJ is investigating real estate developers or people that own like huge rental units and stuff, is they are basing the increase in rent based on each individual tenant. They look at their spending behavior because they have the data, and they go like, well, this guy's, him and his wife bring in this much a year. They go on a vacation every year. We have access to their spending behavior. We can raise their rent by probably 4% this year. Meanwhile, the guy living next door in the exact same apartment, we can't raise it that much. Like, we're trying to squeeze as much money as they can. And this is where the question kind of popped into my mind.
Dude, I am all for that.
Yeah. But listen, I got to post something
all right.
to you.
At first reaction, sounds like a good idea.
Okay. But here's the other side of that.
Okay.
As I go like, well, I could see this crony capitalist model like makes sense to me. I was like, but making it totally individual based at some point, like, are we getting into, because it's to each according to his means or abilities or whatever the Marx quote is.
Yeah.
I was like, at what point, if you're basing on the individual and like this guy has more than that guy, let's get more money out of this guy than this guy. I go like, are we getting into centralized kind of some control stuff?
Well,
here
I mean, is the government doing this or the landlord?
Landlord.
Because as a landlord, I was able to raise the rent on my tenants. California has rent control, even though they say they don't. 10% is the max you're allowed to raise it. And granted, I'm not like a giant landlord. I don't own a ton of units, but I owned one unit. I can raise that rent up to 10% every single month, and that's kind of a lot.
Every month?
Every year. Sorry. Okay. And that's a lot. And let's say there was no rent control, and I could raise it 100% if I wanted to. Eventually, the tenants are going to move out, and I should be trying to make as much money as I can on that property. It's not a pure financial decision because I had good tenants who didn't trash the place. They fixed it up.
Which is a value to you.
Yeah, which is money. And it's money I don't have to spend fixing it, the shit that they break. But at the same time, I need to make as much money as I can. There's a sweet spot there, right? And I am trying to dial in that sweet spot.
It's the same balance that
that's why it makes sense.
Uber's doing.
Yeah, that's why that does make sense to me.
Okay,
so to each according to their needs, from each according to their means, right? That's the reason that's wrong. Is it's not wrong in principle. We all actually live that way. People that don't have means live more frugally than people who do.
Yeah.
But when you're a central planner instituting that over people against their will, outside of the free market, you're getting involved in their business dealings, then that's when it's wrong. When you sign a contract to rent a piece of property, if you've been raised with financial awareness, then you should be signing the rental agreement. There should be in that agreement how much the rent is going to be raised every year. And if it's a variable rate and you've signed that, then that's on you. If you don't like that and you want to say, hey, I'm a good tenant, I'm going to be better for your property than someone who doesn't have carpentry skills, let's say.
Right.
Like, I want to change this wording in the contract and make it so that you can only raise it 5% a year. If you sign that, then I'm in. If not, then I'm out. I mean, most people aren't raised with that kind of awareness, but they should be. I mean, that should be. We don't teach kids anything they actually need to learn in school. That would be a good thing.
Yeah. Why they don't teach kids on how compound interest works and basic financial literacy has always baffled me. So useful. So much to the point I'm like, or is it intentional?
Of course it is. Government schools are not there to actually teach you how to be a successful person.
Okay, so what about this? So Walmart, Kroger, Safeway, your kind of big kind of grocery chains are, Walmart specifically by 2027 is saying the majority of its stores will be using this system called electronic pricing. And what that's going to be, instead of the price tag on there, is you'll have a QR code that you hit with your phone, that the price will change based on each individual, based on any information they have, based on your previous spending patterns and stuff. So you might go pay $3.50 for this milk, and the guy behind you might only pay $2.75 because he makes less than you.
Okay,
that's happening. I didn't make that up. Yeah.
All right. Here's what I think about that. if Walmart, you don't have to shop at Walmart.
You shouldn't shop at Walmart.
But yeah, but there's times where you need to.
Yeah.
Right now, if Walmart has an advantage in the marketplace based on sweetheart deals that they've made with the people with the guns, then that is not okay, and that's the first problem. So when I say you don't have to shop at Walmart, there might be some people who don't have another choice because Walmart has undercut small mom and pop shops and kind of wiped out community economies in certain areas. And if the reason that was allowed to happen is because they got sweetheart deals from the government, then that's a form of central control. And so I'm against that. And that's at that point, they should not be allowed to, they shouldn't be allowed to exist. They shouldn't be allowed to exist in that. But let's just assume for just the simplicity of this argument that that's not the case, and Walmart is just competing fairly in the marketplace, and they just happen to have a really big share of the market because they're so good at what they do. You still don't have to go and shop there.
Right.
The whole Amazon store thing that I ran into in Tennessee, where they'd scan your, the facial recognition thing, and it like shocked the shit out of me. I was just stuck there. I had to.
Right.
I maybe like people are stuck at the Walmart. I was stuck there. I had to buy this stuff through this weird facial recognition thing. But now I'm on high alert for that.
Yeah.
And I don't do it. And it happened in the airport in Houston. I went to buy a souvenir for Junior, and I walked up and they wanted me to scan a code. There's a person sitting there at the teller at the counter, but as soon as I walked in front of the camera, I could see my face on it, and it had the scan thing, and I like stepped to the side. I was like, "Can I just pay cash?" She's like, "Oh yeah, you can pay cash." I was like, "What the fuck?" So I paid cash. So I'm a weirdo. Most people aren't wired like me, or yeah, exactly. But the
shoulder roll out of there.
But I'm making decisions based on that. Like, if you think that that's fucked up in Walmart, then people should stop shopping at Walmart. And it's not an overnight fix. Like, Walmart's still gonna have a large share of the market. But I think if people push back on that, then it will prevent them from going too far with that, hopefully. But then again, go back to my original thing. If they have a big share of the market because the government has made all sorts of deals that makes it really easy for them to undercut everybody else, then that's central control.
I have before. I mean, this started for me 20 something years ago, probably longer than that. Actually, is I've always intuitively I just want my money going to local businesses. Like it's just this value that I have in my head.
Well, and if you have the money where you don't really worry about the little extra cost for going to the local business.
Yeah, just on principle, I was like, I'd be willing to pay more, and I just always had like a loose kind of rule in my head. It's like, I want the least amount of middlemen in my life.
Right.
The least amount of like bureaucratic nonsense and multinational corporations and shit like that.
But if your money is constantly being stolen from you through taxation, through inflation, and you really does matter that
those drug boats aren't going to bomb themselves, my friend.
And it really matters, the few pennies extra that it costs at the local mom and pop is just, you just can't swing it. Then that's the government forcing you to shop at Walmart.
Someone made a fake ad for the board game Battleship. It has the little drug boats in there.
You sank my drug boat.
Yeah, I don't know. It's even though it's not coming directly, like centralized control doesn't only kind of. I was thinking of it more of as a philosophy. Like, yeah, it's not coming directly from the government, but even if it's like a giant corporation, I was like, it's still kind of the same principle. You know what I mean? It's like the same kind of ethos, I guess. So like, well, you have more than that guy, so you're gonna pay more than that guy. And that's what kind of just had me thinking about it for like the last couple of days.
Yeah, in principle, if all things are fair in a free market, then I think that that's totally fine. It's actually admirable, in my opinion, because you can't get top dollar out of. You could actually think of it in reverse. Maybe the price is $100 for this thing, Maybe that's the actual price.
Right.
But for everyone that can't afford $100, you're dropping the price.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at it that way. Maybe it's altruistic. Maybe what they're really doing is making it cheaper for the little guy. I mean, what's the difference? Money is fungible, right? So
corporation with a heart of gold. Well, the reason that I brought up that I don't, I try my best. Like I have to buy gas. That money's going to a giant multinational corporation. I have no choice. There's no mom and pop refinery, you know.
Not anymore. Not in California.
Yeah, not in California. You see the gas prices in LA?
I have a little clip on that, actually, if we got time for it.
Yeah, good. I'd like to talk about that. But as far as just an idea, because like the reason why it's like even though I didn't foresee this shit coming, the digital prison, I didn't think about that 20 years ago because we didn't have that kind of technology. We weren't talking about AI algorithms, you know, paying through everything through your phone. You know, there wasn't like an Amazon and all this shit. I think they were a bookstore online at that time.
Right, used books.
Is I've just always kind of in the intuitive sense, I'm like, the more that I opt out of this thing that the rest of you guys are doing, like I don't have to worry about this shit. I don't have to worry about dynamic pricing because I don't go to these stores. Like people talking about, you know, Walmart doing dynamic pricing. I was like, if you want to shop there, knock yourself out. I was like, I thought this was a bad idea 25 years ago. I still do.
I'm still correct.
But I just thought, like, if that model catches on and just kind of, you know, as an idea catches on, I was like, now that would be a little weird because, like, we're getting into centralized control. Like, the only way that it could be applied to everything is if the government stepped in and, like, we're taking this whole thing across the entire nation, this price, dynamic price model that we're doing.
There's a clear line that's been crossed.
Yes.
And it's obviously bad.
So that's why I kind of did it in a succession of steps because, like, Chick-fil-A bumping up the price of a sandwich at lunchtime, well, that's how you run a business. That's a good business owner. That's a good business model. I was like, but you laid out in these steps, and each one gets like a little more devious. I'm like, at some point, that threshold is reached in all of our brains, and it deviates, you know, wildly. But it was, you know, when they go, the way it happened in my mind is like, okay, they can see your phone's dying, and they're gonna gouge you for more. And I'm like, okay, so now they're doing it to the individual. Well, that's really interesting to me.
I like it. Hey, Jake, can you pull up some sweet break music for us? Dude, I got to go back and watch our video and see all the shit that Jake keeps pulling up. I keep catching it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like,
I got to go back and watch a repo, man.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, let me see what I can do.
Thank you. Do the break music, we should probably try to do something that's not copyright, gonna get a copyright strike on this. Keep going with whatever you got. Are you playing it? I don't hear anything. No, I wonder if no, I'm not getting any audio from your computer. That's all right, we'll fit something else. I'm not going to edit a video is really hard. And Matt and I both, I think last episode, were just like totally distracted by whether or not the ship was actually in the turret. That you took pictures of. Yes. You have more to say on that, or no? Okay. So I promised a clip on. Okay, so we brought up the oil refineries in California. There are. Well, here, I'll just start with this clip here. This is from the American. Let's see, what's it called? Western States Petroleum Association.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So just most important things we got to know in terms of where are we at, what do these refinery closures mean, and give us a landscape.
So the 2 refinery closures that everybody's been referring to really caught people's attention. And the reason being, we cannot afford to lose any more. We're the of the entire world, we're the 3rd largest consumer of gasoline as a state. And the only ones in front of us, United States of America and China. So we consume a lot of gasoline. We cannot have refineries close and limit the ability to provide fuel to Californians. So why did these 2 refineries get everybody's attention? That's 20% of the fuel supply of the state. So what happened is, in April, the governor got interested in this topic and said, I'm worried, and Energy Commission, go figure it out. That response came back to the governor and pointed out certain actions that have to be taken, and those are now going to be considered in the next 30 days. The decisions that have to be made are twofold. One, in the legislative realm, we have got to allow crude oil to be permitted to drill in Kern County so it can come out of the ground, put in pipelines, and go to the north and south to 2 refineries. If that does not happen soon, those pipelines will close, and we will have another couple of refineries that announce their closing.
So that's key, what she said, that if it doesn't come out of the ground in Kern County,
right,
in California, there are no pipelines that cross the Rocky Mountains. So California, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington has 5 refineries. But those states all rely on the fuel that's produced in California. And there are no pipelines coming from anywhere else. So the only other option, if they stop the oil coming out of the ground in California, is they have to ship it in from other places around the world.
Right.
And now these 2 refineries are closing, and that's like 2 of the 9, I think, that are in California. And so the effect is that it's a domino effect. The other refineries are also going to suffer from this, and all the states around us are going to suffer. And the reason that this is allowed to happen in California is because everyone in California thinks that they want to live in an ecotopia. And did you ever read the book Ecotopia?
No, but I know it.
I read it probably 20 years ago. I remember reading it and thinking how cool it was. But right after I read it, because what happens in the book is the Western states secede from the Union, and they create this like super green, like basically hunter-gatherer society. And it's this dream.
That's progress.
Exactly. And everyone that, lives in California and votes for these stupid policies that just jack the prices up on fuel, what they imagine is that they're all going to be running around with bows and arrows and, living like natives. Which, I mean, honestly, sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the problem is that not everyone wants to live that way. People being forced to live that way is like the Soviet Union.
Right.
It's going to be a just total fucking disaster. So just to summarize that here, the Ecotopia book, here's the author of it talking about it. This is back in like the early 80s, I think, with Connie Chung. Listen to the dystopia that he's describing when he actually describes his own book here. Wait for it.
There is no smog in the nation of Ecotopia. That's because it exists only in the mind of Ernest Callenbach. Callenbach's visions, published in a book, are becoming alarmingly prophetic, as Don Oliver reports.
It is an unusual kind of book, and it was rejected by about 25 New York publishers.
It was 1975, and the book was called Ecotopia, a novel of your future. Now it has been read by more than 1 million people and is still in print. And Callenbach has become sort of a cult figure.
About a month after it first got into bookstores, it began to really take off. And I discovered people would, they'd kind of come up to each other and say, "Psst, you know, I've got this really weird book, and I think you ought to read it." And it was called a cult book for that reason, that it kind of appealed to people as secret wisdom that hadn't gotten abroad in the land yet.
Callenbach, to his surprise, found himself in great demand on high school and college campuses as a guru of the future. The plot of the novel contained the plan. Environmental concerns caused the states of Washington and Oregon and Northern California to secede from the Union and form the country of Ecotopia. San Francisco is the capital. In Ecotopia, all motor vehicles would be gone, replaced by electric cars. Big businesses would be broken up. High-rise office buildings would become apartments. Workers would own the companies. The work week would be 20 hours. Synthetic fibers ceased to be made, only natural cottons and wools. The elimination of pesticides in the production of food. A much more primitive lifestyle. People living communally, placing emphasis on the survival of the planet.
It's the way I would like to live if I could. If I could persuade all my friends and family and everybody to live that way, I think we'd all be better off, and I would be a happier man.
Just, I love that right there. You know, like that's how I would like to live. And if I could just persuade everyone else, I think we'd all be a lot happier. It's like, you're talking about forcing millions of people to
hunting, gathering.
Yeah. Like, doesn't that sound like you hear those words coming out of your mouth? Like, haven't we heard that before? Doesn't that sound like the worst disasters of the 20th century?
Callenbach weaved together an array of technological changes that he said man needed to make in order to stop his wasteful, polluting ways. Now, 14 years later, some of those ideas have become accepted realities.
The important thing from my perspective is to get as many alternate energy sources in place as we can.
He thinks the increasing number of windmill farms generating electricity is encouraging, and he continues to urge the use of photovoltaic cells to produce electrical power. Callenbach proposed pollution-free magnetic trains to carry commuters. Both Japan and Germany are now testing them.
My guess is that an awful lot of people, if they were given the chance to live an ecotopian life, which is more emotionally secure and more convivial and less stressed and less pressure, but also poorer, they would say, you know, it's going to be worth it.
But also poorer.
Yeah.
But also poorer. That should be the title of the whole news article. But also poorer. Hey, everybody, we're all going to be poor.
Walmart will adjust when you go in to buy the groceries.
100%.
It all works out.
Guess what? Walmart will be the only place that you can actually shop because you're poor.
It's known as the company store.
When I first read this book, I remember reading a story about some high school kids. Their class, the teacher made them read that book, and they all kind of reviewed it.
Yeah,
and every one of them was like, "That's never going to work." I remember seeing that, and I was kind of like, "God, those kids, they just don't get it." Right? They were so much smarter than me at the time, but like we're doing that now.
Yeah,
we're getting rid of the refineries in California. We're getting rid of the pipelines that are existing in California. And once those are gone, like they're not coming back.
No.
The cost of, because you'll get rid of the refinery, even if you leave the refinery there, like that shit takes constant maintenance.
Yeah.
Those pipelines take constant maintenance. If you just let them sit there for 20 years and then we realize, oh, maybe we should use oil again.
Yeah.
No, those all have to be torn out and redone, right?
And if you want to know how that's going to go, I'd look into the California bullet train.
Exactly.
See how that's working out for us.
Everything that he talks about in there, the solar panels, the windmills, the bullet train, everything. It's like, we've run this experiment and people are still trying to run it. But like, look at the evidence. It's all garbage.
Yeah.
None of it can work. It's centralized control. You're forcing people to be poorer on purpose. And you admit that in your thing here.
And to tie it back into what we were talking about earlier with Catherine Austin Fitts and the digital prison, is like, it could be at the point of a gun that you're forced to do something like this, but it could be like you're not going to have a choice because you don't have any actual currency. What was the book you were telling about? The Great Taking.
Yeah,
I started looking more into that. I was looking at some interviews from that. I'm like, it's kind of terrifying. Like all this stuff is all kind of going in the same direction. You know what I mean? Because you don't think of like the government coming in and brute force and forcing you all to basically become a hunter-gatherer. I was like, but slowly we're just going there anyway, and you are helping them put those bricks together of the cage that's going to contain.
Look at our own city here. Like the Association of Governments around here have decided that they're going to phase out gas down to the point where they actually remove the pipes from your house.
Right.
Once those pipes are gone, they are never coming back.
Right.
Are you sure that's what you want? Like, are you so sure that the gas is evil that you want to remove it, like take it out of the road?
Yeah.
And then we're totally reliant on electricity, and we're going to be totally reliant on fuel from other countries to generate that electricity. Because we all know, I mean, if you don't know this by now, then you're, I think, willfully ignorant that the electricity comes from fossil fuels. It doesn't come from the wind, doesn't come from solar.
My 12-year-old knows this.
It could come from nuclear, but we're not doing that either.
Yeah.
So, and then like you were saying, look at the gas prices right now in LA.
Yeah. I think they're up to just about $8. $7.99, I think, for diesel. Yeah, it's insane. Because people were saying that, like, because I was actually looking at this like 2 years ago, and they were projecting that gas prices in California were going to be close to $8, and people were laughing at it like that's the most ridiculous thing. Like I woke up this morning and saw that. I was like, and there we are.
I believe the Republican candidate for governor is in the lead.
Oh, really?
Right now.
It's not Katie Porter?
I don't know. Hey, Jake, look that up real quick if you're still there.
Is that Rick Caruso?
Was that the sheriff guy?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Can never remember his name.
There's two guys. There's Rick Caruso.
We should know his name so we can encourage people to vote for him.
What's that?
Who's the leading candidate for governor in the next California governor's race? I mean, you would think, God, it just doesn't. Every person I talk to in Houston is like couldn't believe that I lived in California to begin with.
Yeah,
and then had so many like awful things to say about Gavin Newsom. Just like, why don't people get it around here?
Yeah,
because they have this dream of this ecotopia, this thing that can never actually happen in the way that you think. It can happen, and it can be total poverty for everyone.
Yeah,
and maybe they just would prefer total poverty.
I think
in their minds, it's rich people that think that too. They think, yeah, let's have total poverty.
I mean, not for me,
right?
I can afford $8 a gallon gas. Yeah. They're doing this. I believe they're just trying to get people to not be able economically afford to be able to drive. There's like, we're just going to basically it's forced behavior modification to quote Larry Fink from BlackRock. Because I know people that say like gas prices should be expensive. That way people won't. I was like, you understand though, it's not gas. It's your electricity. It's all energy is going in this direction. I'm like, you use some of these things, right? We can agree on that. I know you think you're virtuous because you drive an electric car. Where's that electricity coming from? And that bill is also going up.
Right.
Not to mention, we don't even have the infrastructure to support any more electric cars.
Right.
You know, we have something in California called brownouts. I'm like, and they're not doing anything to update that infrastructure either. Like, do you see at some point, if 7 different arrows are all pointing in the same direction, you go like, okay, like
It's that
Where's this going to end?
It's this stupid fallacy that they think that what they're going to get is Ecotopia. What they're actually going to get is the Soviet Union. When Caltrans increased the carpool hours on our freeways here after they finally finished widening the road, which was the idea of widening the road around Novato, was that the Novato Narrows was the most congested part of the 101 freeway anywhere around here. Yeah. It was awful. If you hit that at the wrong time of day, you're stuck there for like an extra half an hour, right? So that's why they widened it. They get done widening it, and then they increase the carpool hours specifically with the explicit reason of forcing behavior modification, forcing people to carpool or to take public transit. That's their stated goal. They said that out loud. But they think they're getting Ecotopia. They think they're going to get people to carpool and ride public transit. They're not. No. What they're doing is forcing people to sit in traffic. Yeah. That's what you get for this. You don't get the thing that you dream of, this like beautiful utopia of people carpooling. Yeah. I can't carpool. I can't take public transit. I have to drag a fucking dump trailer behind my truck.
Okay, that's the bus. Like, hey, can we swing by the lumberyard real quick?
Right. Do you mind backing up and hooking my dump trailer up and take it to the dump for me? Like, it's just this delusion that, for whatever reason, I don't know if Californians are just more susceptible to being deluded, but they don't see it. They'll never see it, and they just keep ramming their head into the wall over and over again, causing all these problems, causing it to be the worst place to live, causing giant corporations. You know that Valero's stock went up when they voted to leave California?
Oh, yeah.
Because their investors are like, oh, thank God, you're finally leaving that shithole.
Right.
Es todo un placer y orgullo saber que el turno es tuyo, que quizás mañana ya no llegues vivo a tu casa.